Welcome to Ditch Digger CEO. I've got an amazing man on with me today that I met prior to my campaign for governor, and then got to know a little better. Dean, you actually came out to my campaign, a couple of different events I had, and I really appreciated you being there. We also then did a little business together. Your company did some hats and shirts and stuff for us, and boy, what high quality stuff that you create compared to the stuff you can find anywhere anywhere made in China or wherever, right? Bangladesh or China, wherever. The quality of your products comparably it's not even close. So we were blessed to have you on our team when it came to making a lot of stuff for us. So thanks for that. And then I've got this guy on because Dean is a great patriot, somebody that's fought for our country, totally understands what it takes to keep this country free. And then nowadays is a business entrepreneur that's going to take advantage of the freedom that he helped fight for. And these are the type of people in my podcast going forward. I want patriots. I want people that have served like you, Dean, or I want people like me that just love what you're about. They love and appreciate people like you that have fought for this great country. So in the past, I've had a mix of both. I've had some great patriots, people that fought for our country. I've had great leaders in business that understand what this free enterprise system is built on, the backs of people like you. And so that's what we're about. And so welcome, Dean. Dan Wegner, thank you for being on. I really appreciate it. And we're going to talk about your story. Welcome.
Well, Gary, honored to be your guest and looking forward to a great discussion. And it was fantastic to be there with you at the campaign kickoff event and be there and play a small little part of it. And you touched on something that's very important to me is, America and a belief in the American worker and just producing amazing high quality products.
Absolutely. And boy, like I said, it's not easy to be in your boat, to be in your shoes, I should say. Building a business in America is not easy. You can go all over the world and find cheaper labor, like as productive in many cases, and cheap labor. But boy, that doesn't do a lot for our country and for the stability of our country and our job markets. So I appreciate you that you're focusing on that exclusively. And again, as tough as that is to compete, you're doing it, and in an amazing way of high quality and competitive pricing. How the heck do you do it, buddy?
Well, Gary, you're starting to touch on one of my favorite words, and that's intentional. Because there is potentially more margin to be made if we imported all of our products. It potentially is easier when you've got a lot of options overseas, but it was a very intentional choice to produce right here in the U.S. because I love our country. I believe in the American worker, and we want to have an opportunity to make a difference. And that's where this whole vision for Authentically American started 5 years ago from a blank sheet of paper.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's go into first your story as someone that's defended our country, because I love what you've done to be there to defend our country as well as what you're doing today. So let's start out kind of at the beginning, and what it was like to defend our country and fight for our country.
Let me share this, Gary. When people say, Dean, what's most important to you? I say my priorities in life align with God, family, and country. And my Christian faith is first and foremost in my life. And you've not had an opportunity to meet my wife, Kelly, but we this year celebrated 28 years. And we've got 4 amazing kids. So we've got 2 daughters, 24 and 21. We have an 18-year-old son, and we also have a 12-year-old son we adopted from Ethiopia. So family is just incredibly important, and I'm blessed with an amazing family. And from a country standpoint, was privileged to have the opportunity to attend and graduate from the United States Military Academy, West Point. So I graduated in 1993, made the decision to go the aviation route. So went to flight school, learned how to fly helicopters, then had a unique opportunity, Gary, after flight school to go to the Army Special Forces Ranger School. And that's a whole separate story there, but then served our country for 7 years, 93 to 2000. And I will tell you, Gary, it's the incredible men and women that I served with over those 7 years that led to a very intentional choice to donate 10% of our profits to veteran and first responder charities. And that's a way for us to honor our American heroes each and every day.
Wow. So yeah, so you're building a business now. I mean, that reflects on your values, and that's That's what great companies are built on, right? A founder has a set of core values that they won't veer from. That you'll hire and you'll motivate and inspire people on your team to live by those values, and those came from God, family, and your military background, basically. You're saying.
Amen. And that is, Gary, the number one filter as we're looking to have people join the Authentically American team. Do their values, do their principles, do their ethos align with who we are. And if they're going to be at a party on Friday night in the neighborhood or with a bunch of friends, are they excited to share about our vision, our mission, what we're doing? And there's, of course, a lot more outside of work, but we really want people who feel the same level of passion about our vision and what we have an opportunity to make a difference.
That's really cool, and I think that exactly it's the same way. Our core values mean everything to us in our businesses. We hire by those core values. We inspire by them. We have to, if it doesn't work out and somebody has to be let go, it's usually because they can't live by some of our core values. So again, I think it's so important to keep the best culture. If you want to compete, right, keep the best culture you can within that team, and you're doing that. What are the what are some of your you got a few core values that you guys live by?
Well, I should highlight one thing, Gary, because most people, as a new brand, probably most people tuning in have never heard of Authentically American.
Mm-hmm.
And we're an apparel brand. We have amazing product. You mentioned that amazing product, but it's all made right here in the U.S. And to give everyone some context on how rare American made is, when I graduated from West Point in 93, over 50% was made in the U.S. Today, it's 3.5.
Wow.
3.5 is all that's made here. And that shocking statistic gave birth to our tagline, "Where's yours made?" And most people, don't give it a thought. They don't look at the tag, but after having endured 2.5 years in a global pandemic with a war in Ukraine, what we're finding and the reason why our business is exploding is country of origin matters. And that is tied to one of our core beliefs, one of our values. We believe in the American worker. There is a place for production all around the world, but if you're going to be wearing, producing, manufacturing items here in the U.S., it should be made right in our backyard.
So where's yours made? That's what the question you asked there, you're always asking anybody, right?
And Gary, that's what I encourage everyone. So I joke that unless you live in a nudist colony, you make a choice every morning, what shirt you're going to wear. And the next time you put on a shirt, take a look at that tag. I think most of your listeners are going to be shocked to see a made in China, made in Vietnam, made in Bangladesh type tag. And most people that are tuning in prescribe to the same patriotic, core beliefs and values. And they're going to want an American made tag. They just don't know that an option like ours actually exists.
I know. Well, you know what? And I always try to tell my marketing teams, and when I ran for governor as well as my businesses, to buy an American, buy American made products always, right? But guess what? They get bamboozled sometimes, because some of this stuff, you look at a hat and it says USA, right? And it'll say marketed in small letters, USA big, right? Or America big and marketed, small. And then you'll find somewhere, made in Bangladesh or China or wherever. And so, it's easy to get fooled because you're not always really paying attention enough to think about that. Hey, that shirt looks good on me. I like that. I like that logo on that shirt, whatever it is, right? And again, if you look first on that tag, you like you just said, only 3.5%. You'd have to go through, you'd have 90. It'd be 96.5 to 1 to 3.5 odds, right? So that's those are low odds if you're looking hard. So how do you make it really easy, for people to buy American? Tell us about that, and how you get in front of all those people that are buying the Nike brands and that are made all over the world in the worst environments in the world. How do you get them to look past those and look towards you guys, consistently as you grow?
Well, Gary, I will tell you, it has been anything but easy the last 5 years. And after leaving the Army, worked at big companies like Procter & Gamble and Mars, and big brands like Crest and Tide and M&M's, and was so thankful for that experience. Both of them are just world-class marketing and branding companies. But after 5 years, I'm exhausted, but I am even more energized because although we've had to build everything from the ground up and everything I took for granted in the P&G and Mars days, we've had to build, but I'm even more energized because we truly have an opportunity to make a difference. And our biggest challenge, our biggest opportunity is brand awareness. And that's why I was so thankful to connect with you and have an opportunity to be your guest, because you've got a great following. You've got an incredible listenership that follows you. And here was just another opportunity to share our story. And I will guarantee probably another 95, 99% have never heard of our brand. And that has really been the number one page out of our playbook from a marketing standpoint is earned media.
Sure.
Over the last 2 years, I've been on 50 plus podcasts, have been on national TV 23 times. We've been in Forbes magazine. And other than a lot of time, sweat, and equity put into it, I can't afford that type of exposure we've got. So I've been thankful for national media really starting to embrace this feel-good American story we have about providing first and foremost amazing product and helping create American jobs.
Now, have you ever thought about, does it make sense, I guess, to actually think of the rest of that 3% of the market that are building in America, products in America, to kind of like network and pull together with them to take your multiple brands that are made in America together to fight the made in China stuff?
Yeah, it's absolutely a great thought. And there's a couple people out there that are starting to put together a made in USA e-commerce type platform, so that if you have the type of values that you and I prescribe to, that you've got a one-stop shop location to go ahead and pick everything up. But I should clarify that a relatively small portion of our business is consumer focused, so more B2C, whether it's things that are authentically American branded, a t-shirt, polo, quarter zip, or we have collegiate licenses. I'm wearing one of our collegiate licenses, one of my favorites. So this is a West Point quarter zip. We have Naval Academy, Air Force Academy. We have all the military schools. We have Alabama and Auburn. But 20% of our business, Gary, is on the consumer side, but 80% is more corporate, more B2B. So we have Fortune 500 clients like Pepsi and Bridgestone and Comcast. We have big veteran charities like Wounded Warrior, Tunnel to Towers, Team Red, White, and Blue. So that really is not an opportunity to go online. That's really building relationships like we have with you and how we first met each other, and just continue to go ahead and provide an amazing product experience and an amazing customer experience.
Well, and again, I think that there's multiple ways, in my opinion, when I think about your brand, and I know you're doing a lot of it. But I was one of the founders in Job Creators Network, and it's an organization that I'm actually getting back engaged with since I stepped off all boards I was on when I ran for governor from a couple months before to recently. One that I'm getting heavily engaged with again is Job Creators Network, a brand that's done amazing things over the last 12 years. Most recently, we stopped Biden's student loan bailout plan. So we were the ones that had the lawsuit that stopped that. Now he's appealing it, and he's in his second appeal right now. But we're gonna win that one. This little organization, Job Creators Network, started 12 years ago. Myself and 5 others. Bernie Marcus was the kind of the brainstorm that he wanted to build this organization. I was one of the founders with him and a few others. And today we've not only won that student loan against that student loan bailout for over $400 billion. We stopped our taxes paying. And then to create unaccountability, of course. But we also were the ones that stopped. If during my campaign towards the end in January 14th, we won at the Supreme Court. We won against Biden again, and that was a huge one. That was against the vaccine mandate. As an entrepreneur and a business leader of many businesses and many people, I couldn't imagine that being legal, that as a business, we could force our teammates to take a vaccine. Never in the past has that been the case, and I didn't think that was right. So we sued. I was one of the first plaintiffs. I was the first plaintiff on that case, and we won at the Supreme Court on the 14th. So what I'm getting at, I guess, is Job Creators Network now has hundreds of thousands of members, and I'm getting re-engaged because I want to engage the members more. I want to raise more money for the organization, all that, because we're doing great things. But this is a perfect target market for you. I mean, these are all American-loving, free market-loving businesses that want to fight against crazy crazy the regulatory environment that a Biden would put in place, or our state governors that are lunatics like Pritzker, our governor in Illinois. So again, this organization is doing great things, but you're the perfect solution for all those businesses. So somehow we'll have to figure out how we get you in front of them. It's like the NFIB. I'm a member there. I've been a member there for a long time too. But have you tried getting in front of them at all?
I have, Gary. So I'm familiar with them. We've got the NFIB member hanging in our office, but I was not familiar with the Job Creators Network. So that will be a follow-up later that you and I have offline, because we'd love to learn more. And from what you described, sounds like the perfect organization that lines up with who we are as a business.
Yeah, you'll find that they're much stronger when it comes to the free market concept that we need to continue to protect. NFIB, decent organization, but hasn't been as strong in that respect for me anyway. But either way, I want to help you there for sure. But boy, yeah, it seems like a no-brainer that if you get in front of just American businesses that are fighting for their own survival while we continue to ship in more and more China goods and stuff, it'd be a no-brainer.
Gary, I'll share a powerful story that just happened in the last couple of months, because our business is really taking off. It's been incredible to see what's happened over the last 6 months. And one of our clients is a veteran charity. Are you familiar with Tunnel to Towers?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just a phenomenal organization. And I was not intimately familiar with it until about 6 months ago. But just a quick background for everybody who's not familiar. Tunnel to Towers was birthed out of 9/11. And an incredible story about a fireman who on his off day, heard about the towers going down, and he wasn't able to drive, back over to New York City, but he donned 60 pounds of fireman's gear and ran 5 miles back to the tower and courageously saved hundreds of people's lives, but tragically lost his life in the process. And, since that day, every year they've held a run in his honor. And it's amazing the impact they've had over the last 5 years, because they've grown tremendously. And what they do is, if a first responder, a police officer, veteran lose their lives in the line of duty, they pay off their mortgage.
Awesome.
And the stories are incredible. And Gary, they have this iconic red hat. So if you donate at a certain level, they will go ahead and send you this hat. And their chief marketing officer, Larry Olson, just shared this story with me. One fellow veteran, donated at that level. He got this red iconic hat, and it had a Made in Bangladesh tag.
Huh.
He cut this hat up into shreds, sent a note back with one short sentence that said, "Shame on you." Shame on you. And they are in the process of transitioning all of their apparel, all their merchandise over to us, because they realize that there's an opportunity, now that they know that we exist, to go ahead and provide, like you said, amazing product that's American made and aligns so well with the veterans of their members and their supporters.
That's a great story, and I got to believe there's a way to put more pressure on politicians running for office as well, because I know that most people that ran for office, in my race, the governor's race, and others around me, I checked for labels. Not after I met you and started buying, making sure it's made in America. Very, very few. I mean, really, I don't remember any that were made in America from my opponents, and I could have used it. I could have used it against them, but I know in my past, actually, in that governor's race and my business, we've been bamboozled by brands that said they're made in America and they weren't. Right. So I was like, it's probably not a fight to pick. But boy, you know what? In the future, if we market it well enough, it should be a no-brainer that if you're running for office, or any office, community-wise, a small community or a big community, a state or federal government, right? Why the hell would you ever, wear anything but something made in our country? Because you're supposed to be fighting for jobs and fighting for people in this country, right? If you're running and representing the people of your community, your state, or your country. So that's something that it seems like you can work on consultants and whoever else and use that positively, or they can use it negatively against their opponents too. So,
Gary, I wish I had specific statistics, but I've been to a number of events before, and the candidate is up there stumping how much they love our country. They want to fight for the American worker, but then you will look at their campaign shirt that they gave out to volunteers, made in China.
Yeah,
And
Well,
made in China is an evil country. They would love to wipe us off the face of the earth. And it's amazing, back to one of my favorite words, intentional. If you're running for office, it needs to be a very intentional choice whenever possible that you choose and you fight for the American worker.
absolutely. So that's what it's supposed to be about. Now, I actually was part of a great, what I thought was a great organization, Innovatively, a great organization when it comes to just creating technology and doing cool things with technologies. We've got a couple technology businesses, and we invest in technology a lot. It was called. I was invited to be part of it because I thought I was big enough business player in the technology world and all that. But it's called Abundance 360. Abundance 360, they hold their annual events out in California and in LA or Hollywood or wherever. And then it's some of the biggest tech people. And I was enjoying it a lot. My son came out to my son Austin, who's the CEO of all our companies, is big into technology, and I am too. I think we can use technology to make our businesses more productive, deliver higher quality products, right? All those things. But boy, I went 2 years in a row. In the first year, they talked a little bit about the glory of doing business in China and just a little bit. They had one speaker, and boy, it made me sick. But they were kind of excited about this, right? The second year, boy, I tell you what, probably a third or 40% of all the subject matter was about doing business in China and that great entrepreneurial market that is in China. And this was only a few years ago. And I talked to the people leading the event, and I said, it basically said, "Are you guys crazy? This isn't right. It's not. This is not something to brag about. This is not something to be proud of. Okay, these people don't like us. Actually, they would love us dead. And yet we want to do. You want to promote technology building in China, where they're going to they can take it from us. Our IP is no good. Anyway." It made me really sick, and I never went back to this thing in the last 3 years. And it's too bad because there's a lot of innovative people there. But I think innovators, CEOs, and leaders of companies kind of get taken off sometimes in some fantasy world that everybody's out for the best interest of us as Americans. But as you know, it's not the case. These son of a guns in China and many of these countries, they're envious. They can't stand us. They can't stand freedom and free markets, and they want us wiped off the face of the earth if they can. So either way, that puzzled me at first, and I was like, man, these people just don't get it. They're not going to get it. So I stopped going to this thing. But it's too bad because we need more innovators that understand the value of this great free country that embraces free enterprise and has created more innovation and more great ideas and inventions than any country in the history of the world, right? And what you're doing, you were at Procter and Gamble, right? After you got out of the military and worked for big corporate America, right?
Absolutely, worked for big companies like Procter and Gamble and Mars, and that was ultimately the initial inspiration, that catalyst for me to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, because I mean, what I find in big corporations like that is, hey, they might be out for the best interest of their customers. Of course, they might be out for all the right reasons, but innovation is very slow. When you think about innovation, in my opinion, when you have a small business with innovative minds, a leader and a team of innovators, right? They get so much done when it comes to challenging the status quo and actually developing great products and services. When you look at a Procter and Gamble, they're big, huge, slow-moving ships. To turn those ships to innovation becomes next to impossible. And so I got to believe that you felt some of that when you're there, and when you started on your own, you're like, well, this is you've got all the freedom to innovate and do what you want, right? Brand-wise, product-wise, whatever. And this is why those big, slow-moving ships have to buy companies like yours or mine or whatever. Otherwise, there's no innovation. It's kind of like a big government. It's kind of the same thing, in my opinion, right? Big government stunts innovation. Big government, ruins the free markets because they have to tax the death. Anything that moves or breathes or creates a profit. So big business can be good, right? But they've got to invest in small businesses to be great. Big countries that are overwhelmed with big tax and big government, not so good either, right? We need to somehow stay nimble in our businesses as we should as a country.
Yeah, I laugh thinking back to my history because when I left the Army in 2000, well, first of all, I should say, I tell everybody I'm a veteran and entrepreneur, but when I left the Army in 2000, I couldn't even spell entrepreneur. You know, di- didn't even know this world
Well,
existed.
the E's and the U's and all that, that's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
complicated first.
Thank goodness for spell check. But what I realize is so often we're a product of our environment and had an amazing family growing up. And my dad was a 30-year engineer for Alcoa, a Fortune 500 aluminum company. And most of his friends, most of our neighbors worked for big companies. So when I left the Army in 2000, what did I think I was going to do? Work for a big company. I mean, that was the whole, environment that I grew up in. And so thankful because they're both P&G and Mars are great companies, learned a ton. But like you, I have this insatiable desire to know that I'm making a difference. And P&G is a massive $80 billion company. 80 billion. Mars is
Wow.
half the size, but still a $40 billion company. And I had fairly big jobs and was very well paid. But Gary, at one point I realized that if you pull me out, the next guy steps right up and the machine keeps going and it doesn't skip a beat. And I truly wrestled with if I'm making a difference when I'm that replaceable. And that was the initial catalyst to say, okay, what else can I do? And as I started doing my own due diligence and researching, that's where I learned how to spell entrepreneur. And I learned what it means to be an entrepreneur. And it's been the most rewarding. It's been the most exhausting. But I, like I said, have been so incredibly energized about what we've had an opportunity to create.
No, what you're doing is amazing. Tell me about the growth from, you say 6, 7 years ago you started? How long ago was it now?
So 5 years now. So 2017, we're a blank sheet of paper.
Okay. Tell me about that.
So, we doubled the first couple of years, and then 2020, we planned to triple our business, and then COVID hit. And we do have some angel investors on board, but Gary, for the most part, we're a bootstrap startup. And when all the threats of lockdown and shutdown and everything was out there, my initial thought was, are we even going to survive?
Hmm.
Because if we don't have product, we don't have revenue. If we don't have revenue, then we're going out of business.
Yep.
And I will tell you, over the last 2 years, we have manufacturing in 11 states. So everyone loves our T-shirt. You've worn our T-shirt. You know how incredibly soft they are. We make those in Texas. We have some amazing socks we make in North Carolina. So 11 states across the U.S. and all of our factories were operating at some reduced level of capacity. So it was not easy, but each and every one of them continued to step up and make amazing product. And I will tell you, Gary, Q3 was a record quarter for us. Q4,
Awesome.
we're not even done, and we're already double where we're at Q4. And, we have really started to focus and understand where our brand resonates. But I'm excited for what 2023 holds and the next 5 years hold, because it's kind of that flywheel that's taken a hold. For the first few years, it felt like we were running hard and fast and really weren't going anywhere. But now more and more clients, more individual customers are ordering for a second, third, fourth, fifth time. And then they're telling other friends. And their friends are ordering not only for themselves, but for business or favorite charity. So it is really starting to get that flywheel and it's really starting to take off. And, we're getting ready to move into a new space in January that will be 4X our current space.
Amazing. Tell me, I'm all about differentiation, right? My slogan had discover the difference for decades because I wanted people to discover what made us different, right? And I wanted my teammates, like you said, to tell the story of what makes us different, what makes them personally different, what makes the products we deliver different. And differentiation isn't that important if it's not really serving, right? It's not really adding value to the customer, but ours all do, right? And so we've constantly focused on that. With that, we've had amazing success in a lot of ways in our businesses. My teammates, my leaders, all in our businesses get that point. Okay, so differentiate or die is something I say in business. Either differentiate or die. I mean, you're not going to compete if you don't give your customers something more, better, and they don't feel the difference. They don't have that they don't feel the wow factor that we expect our customers to feel. So again, I think it's important when you think about differentiation for yourself. And I got the big one. You're made in America consistently. I know the difference because I've used your products. Okay, but when it comes to your quality, the feel, like you're saying, your shirts and hats. I got lots of compliments on your stuff, and people are still wearing them right now on my governor's campaign. I'm not, and I lost, okay, but they're still wearing them because they're telling me about it. But either way, tell me what are the I know about, the Made in America is a huge differentiator. Tell me about what you think are your top 3 differentiators that you can drive home on a consistent basis.
Gary, let me share this because back to intentional, we highlight that we're veteran owned. We reinforce how important it is to make that choice for American made, but as a consumer brand, that's not good enough. If somebody was tuning in to here today and they say, you know what, sounds amazing, and they order something from us and they get it, like, well, thanks a lot, Gary, that product stinks. I mean, who cares? You're never buying it again. So that is first and foremost, Gary, is product experience. And let me do this. Since we're on video, let me do a quick show and tell, because apparel is a massive $300 billion industry,
Right.
300 billion every year. And the most ubiquitous apparel item is the t-shirt. You're wearing one right now. I was wearing one this morning when I woke up, but this is one of my personal favorites. So this is a Go Army, one of our West Point collection. And I wish you were here in person because you would be, sharing sentiments like you had before, like this has got to be the softest t-shirt I've ever felt. And that's by design, because who doesn't love a nice soft t-shirt?
Yeah.
Here, I know you're down in Florida right now, and think a lot of the t-shirts historically that have been in your closet, they have that heavy plastisol ink, and on a hot summer day, it will stick to your chest. You wash it a few times, it will crack.
Sure.
And that is not our shirts. As you know, the graphics, the print, we very intentionally, you use a soft hand print because we want the fabric, we want the print to include tagless, to be incredibly soft. So that's how all of our t-shirts are. But I know you're very active, fit, and prescribed to a healthy lifestyle. So this is where that show and tell comes in. Watch what happens when I spray this shirt. You can see Beat Navy magically appears, and this is our sweat activated. And I see the look on your face and Chris's. And here on the back side is our vintage flag, but I'm going to spray the back.
That's funny.
And I love to highlight this, Gary, because I've literally had people say, Dean, no offense, I don't care where it's made. The shirt's incredibly soft. I can't even feel the print. And like your reaction, like, that is so cool. That's amazing. And this is my personal favorite, given the Go Army, Beat Navy, that whole Army-Navy rivalry. But we've done hundreds of custom designs because I've had people say, Dean, well, how do you differentiate? How do you innovate in apparel? And this is one example. And the Made in USA tag is great, but what's most important is that product experience. And our whole goal is, whether it's one of our Authentically American shirts, whether it's a West Point one, or for your company or your charity, that it's your new favorite. If you wore it on Friday, you want to wash it and wear it again because it's your new favorite. It's so soft, it's so comfortable. And this is a prime example, Gary. People, wear this all the time. They wear it out. I get tagged in pictures almost every day, but this is a prime example on what's most important to us as a consumer brand, is that product experience.
That's cool. That's really cool. I love it. Now, so you got Made in America. I know it's high quality. I mean, that's a really cool thing. Think about it, getting wet and then reading something additional to the Go Army is really cool. Now, what about price? Can you be competitive? I mean, when we look at the labor costs and all these things in our country and the rising labor costs, right? How the heck do you compete on price?
I'll tell you, Gary, I'm laughing because that has been a stereotype that we have had to fight. Most people say, Dean, you're American made, you got to be outrageously expensive. And I'm like, no, we're not. We've got amazing product. It's all American made, but we're competitively priced. And it's all relative, because if you're buying a known national brand, whether it's Nike, Patagonia, Lands' End, Under Armour, Polo, any brand like that, we're parity price, but it's a business model choice. And think back to the days of Dell and their original model of Go Direct. We don't have a wholesale program. We don't sell to Amazon. We don't sell to third-party distributors. So if you're a business, if you're a charity and you want Authentically American for your company or for your charity, you don't go to a third-party distributor. You only work with Authentically American directly. You work with my team. And that is, Gary, the third point of differentiation. First is American made. Second is that product experience. But if you are a business, you're a charity, although apparel's important, you've got a lot of other things going on. And I love it when I get unsolicited calls, texts, and emails when people say, Dean, I got to tell you, your team is amazing. I mean, the way they delivered on that customer experience was like, wow. And I love your product. I love, everything about your brand, but I want to work with your team because they've made it so easy. They've been a great partner for us.
It's so important, right? I mean, my teams are the same way. They almost all of them touch my customers in some way. Whether it's the leader of the company, it's a sales leaders or a sales team. It could be a project manager. It could be a laborer on a job, right? Shoveling asphalt or concrete. The way they interact with our customers is so important. You can't speak enough for that. And great leaders understand how to build a team that's servant minded, right? That's out there to serve their customers and in a way that the customer loves doing business with them, right? That's just not that common anywhere. I mean, I just went to some stores this morning and stuff like that, and you notice a difference when you see great customer service compared to no customer service, right? And so, relationships matter in a big way, and I know you guys do an awesome job with that. I experienced it myself. What are your top three t-shirts? Number one, what's number two, number three, most popular apparel.
I'll highlight another one, Gary. So I joke that nobody wears ties anymore. Socks are the new ties. And I mentioned how we've been blessed with some incredible national TV coverage. So the last time we were on national TV, these fun patriotic socks were the number one seller.
All right.
The reason is I didn't say how amazing they are, but the host in front of 2 million people said these are his favorite pair of socks.
That's awesome.
And you can imagine the spike in traffic and you can imagine the spike in sales. But here's why that happened, because the host didn't mention anything about them being American made. He said they're so soft. They're so comfortable. They have this fun patriotic design. That's why they're his favorite pair. But when you're having an experience like that, Gary, you want to learn more about the brand. And very proudly, what you will see written here is designed in Nashville, made in North Carolina. And back to that 3.5% number, you'll realize that anything that you have in your closet and your sock drawer is not American made. And then you'll go to our website, learn the story and ethos and everything behind our brand. But, it starts with, again, that product experience. But that's why I love social media and technology, because it really provides us an opportunity to share our story. And there's a story behind these socks. And like the t-shirt where we've done hundreds of custom sweat activated designs, we now have fun with businesses and charities because, take off the red, white, and blue, whatever your colors are as a business, whatever your logo is, and it's just a fun way to go ahead and build your brand.
Okay, so we're gonna talk after. I want you to meet with my marketing team because I want socks for the Rabine group of companies. I want each company to have their own socks, but I like the idea of actually the red, white, and blue, the flag logos on, the stars and stripes on there, and then have the name of the business with it, because we're proud American companies and doing business with American companies, and I think that's cool. If, just a nice message to send to your customers. Give them a pair of socks like that for any occasion, with their logo on it and the American, stars and stripes, and man, you got something, in my opinion, that's pretty cool. So,
Larry, it's, to your point, a lot of our clients use these as client gifts because, t-shirts are phenomenal, but you got to worry about size. Well, is Gary a medium or is an X large? I'm not sure. Socks, what we have, fits most. So size 9 to 12. And what I've found, our clients that have the most success is they not only say, okay, here's a great gift. They'll say, hey, take a look at the tag. It's American made, because that's who we are as a company. That's what we believe in. We believe in the American worker. So they share a little bit on why. And what we found is the level of engagement with their team, their employees, skyrockets, because nobody's going to stay at your company just because you give them a great t-shirt or give them a great pair of socks. But it's just one more reinforcement on why they love working for your company, why they love volunteer for your organization. And that's what we want to provide, is that indispensable partnership with our clients, where it's just one more reason why they love your organization.
I love it. Tell me, how does your faith and family really parlay into this business thing? I mean, when you look at what you do every day to work your butt off and serve your customers, I know you love it like I love it, right? But how does your faith and family come into play when it comes to leading your business and growing this business and all that?
Well, Gary, I start out each and every day the same way, and it's on my knees in prayer, because back to not even being able to spell entrepreneur, I need a lot of help. I need a lot of guidance and wisdom. And I know you and I both have the same chairman. And that's why I'm on my knees praying every day for God's guidance and provision. And, the days are incredibly long. There's a lot of hard work and a lot that's poured into it. But I'm very intentional as well that when it comes dinner time, I'm home,
I
whether
love
it's to go ahead and be there for dinner, whether it's to go ahead and, coach the kids. I just want to be present. I want to be there. I want to be a great husband. I want to be an amazing dad. And you can't do that if you're absent. And, this is one of the things that goes back to military training and Ranger school. But, sometimes I don't sleep much. But I found when you're pursuing your passion and when you're pursuing what you love, it gives you an abundant amount of energy.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, I think, those are awesome lessons to share with anybody in business, right? I mean, I worked crazy hours for 10 years of my life, maybe more, maybe a little longer than that, where I hardly saw my family, my kids as they were little. And if I went back, I would have figured out a way not to do that, right? To been there and present for them at night and all that. And I wasn't. But later on in life, I did a little better job with that. And I'm blessed. I've got 4 amazing kids like you. My last one adopted, and then my first 3. And today, the fruits of my wife and I our labor in raising these kids, and our mentorship of these kids has paid off because they're really, really good people. And that's the most important thing in our lives, right? God blesses us with these little people to create great people. And if we can do that, life is amazing. And I think that's the best part of life, actually. So it means a lot.
Here's kind of a quick story that all 4 of our kids have this memory because, when the kids were younger, loved bath time, and we always would, curl up with the kids and, read bedtime stories and, say our prayers. And all of our kids have memories of me just completely passed out, falling asleep. And my wife would have to come in and drag me out because after a long day, I mean, you're tired, but, the kids have memories of me falling asleep right next to them.
That's awesome. So what do you feel are your biggest lessons that you could pass on to a young entrepreneur? Hey, somebody that wants to lead in the military as you did, right? What are the biggest lessons of life and business that you could pass on to, again, a young person that wants to be a leader in the military? That same person, in my opinion, could be qualified to be a great leader in life in any way, including entrepreneurship. Tell me your biggest lessons of leadership that you would pass on.
Let's share one, Gary, that goes all the way back to Ranger School. And, one of the first lessons is, just the importance of hard work and the importance of commitment and perseverance, because unless you've been in the military, you're probably not familiar with Ranger School. And I didn't know it back then, Gary, but Ranger School was such great training for leading a startup. And reason being, on day 1, there were 340 of us. And there's a lot of military doctrine and tactics, but at its core, Ranger School is a leadership school. And what they do is deprive you of everything you think you need to survive, namely food and sleep, and then put you in incredibly stressful situations. So, Gary, for 72 days straight, lived on 1 meal a day and 2 to 3 hours sleep a night. And then they just put you in incredibly stressful situations. And after those 72 days, we lost 80% of our class. We went from 340 and there were only 70 of us graduating.
Wow.
And, it was all about no sleep and incredible stress. And that's the life I'm living now as an entrepreneur. So I think that was one valuable lesson back from the military, is the importance of hard work, commitment, and, that perseverance to get through something. But an even more important one that also came out of Ranger School is the importance of teamwork. Because you are assigned a Ranger buddy, and that Ranger buddy is instructed to never leave your side, to always be there, to always have your back. And what I have the most fondest memories of Roy Backey, of going through that experience together. And we still keep in touch today. Literally just texted him last weekend. So 30 years later, here we are still in touch, having gone through that experience. But, that experience, the importance of teamwork, has lasted with me. And I think so often, if you come out of the military, or if you're a new entrepreneur and you're starting from scratch, is so often it's like, well, I just got to do it all myself. And I think the importance is, business is the ultimate team sport. Even if you're a sole proprietor, you're going to have a banker, you're going to have a CPA, you're going to have an attorney, all these different people that you work with. And what I realized, and even if they're not on your payroll, I've been amazed at how many people have stepped up and gone out of their way to help me. So it's just embracing that idea of teamwork.
Absolutely. I love it. And, like you said, go outside to pay your payroll. I mean, there's plenty of people that if you meet will share their experiences with you, right? And if there's people that have led before, militarily or business wise, and I've done it business wise over and over again. And I've got many mentors in my life that I still go back to today and call on, right? Of all different varying experience levels and all different industries. And again, I think that's the most important thing is there's a big team out there if you want to create that big team. And I think we should all have, I believe, advisors in our life that we trust, that we probably love and they probably love us, that will always be there to share experiences with us. And I know you've gotten a lot of that, and you'll continue to get that from people, and as well as be that to people. I think that's the most important thing in life. As we raise our kids, we build our businesses, and we mentor people in our businesses, our friends outside our businesses, right? I think that the best mark we can leave in this world is, people behind that say, here's something I learned from my old buddy Dean, my old buddy Gary, right? Let me tell you something I learned from this guy. And they carry that on, right? And give that to their mentees. But I think that's there's not enough of that in the world, but it can be accessible, in my opinion, if we just find people that we know care about us, that we'll give to and care for as well. That's awesome.
I'll tell you, Gary, just investing in those relationships, and I've been blown away at so many people. A lot of our initial angel investors were fellow West Point grads and classmates. And when they came on board, I'm like, well, I know we've got a good idea, but it's not, the best one. And they're like, Dean, you have always been there for me. You've had my back anytime I had a need. You were there for me. So that's why I want to be here for you. And
that's awesome.
My favorite mantras, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but it's not about what you can get from that other person. I believe you turn it around and say, okay, what can I do to help Gary? What can I do to help Chris? How can I help go out of my way? And then, eventually at some point it'll come back. But if you've got that initial focus, it pays off tenfold.
Yeah, I really, you and I both love God and love Jesus Christ, right? And what did that guy do? What did that skinny little guy with long hair and nothing but his sandals? Right? What do you do to become so doggone popular, right? Like there's this thing called serving others, and he did it every minute of his life. And if we can just do a little of that, or as much as we can of that in our lives, things work out. Okay, hey Chris, what do you got? Chris likes to go through the nuggets of success at the end of the.
Yeah, and just incredible. Really, Ranger School sounds like just about the hardest thing that anyone could ever go through. Real quick, I wanted to ask, like, how did you keep yourself sane and make it through that?
I mentioned the number one reason is Roy Backey, my Ranger buddy, because there were days when I was ready to ring the bell and quit and hang it up. And he's like, no, you're not. He'd grab me by my bootstraps and pull me up like only a Marine infantry sergeant could do. And then there were days, because he was a bigger football player, he was starving. And I went from 195 down to 175, lost 20 pounds. He went from 220 down to 175 with me. So he was hungry. So, there weren't days where either one of us, didn't feel great. So it was incumbent upon both of us. When one of us was feeling down, we'd pick each other up.
Awesome. Well, Dean, you're an awesome man. We really appreciate your service. We really appreciate your friendship and what you're doing. Keep in touch with me, and let's make sure your team is getting in front of all my little companies. And
absolutely,
I want to make sure we're using your stuff and our names on your stuff. All right. So, and I do there to help you. Otherwise, thanks so much for being a guiding light to so many, including our listeners.
Yeah. Well, Gary, you're a good friend and a great American, and I really appreciate who you are and what you stand for and what you're all about. So honored to be your guest.
Thank you, buddy. Until next time, here's from Ditch Digger CEO. We'll see you guys later, and thanks for everything, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you. Hey, Dean, real quick, where can people find out more about you?
So the number one location to go to, Chris, is authenticallyamerican.us. That's our website, authenticallyamerican.us. And that .us was an intentional choice, given the equity of our brand.
And let's put that all over this podcast too, Chris. I know you will.
Oh yeah, of course.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great
Gary,
day.
thank you very much. Always great to catch up. Chris, pleasure to meet you.